Welcome to the Journey Show with Pastor Emmanuel MUSINGA. We are here to encourage one another and to support one another. This is good time for the community here in Indiana, especially in America, different ethnic, to work together, to encourage and to challenge one another to be able to thrive as together as the community. Now today, I'm here to share my story when I come in Indianapolis. I was just learning here in America. Then I started church here in Indiana. I was having different challenges. Then I meet my friend, my pastor, Bob Yant. Welcome, Bob Yant, again.
Thank you.
And we've been in Kenya together. We traveled together. I've been to your house. Now we are here to encourage other community to work together and share different kind of the food.
Okay.
Remember when I come to your house, you know what I like there?
Yes, apple pie.
Apple pie and the ice cream.
Apple pie and ice cream, yes, I know.
That's the new food there in the African community. If you say apple pie, we don't understand what the apple pie is.
Yeah. The last one I brought to your house, everybody ate before you got to it.
They take it. Okay, first question is, when you come to work to Creek Creek, you was the interim pastor there.
Yes.
You joined the community there, you serve different community, Caucasian, African-American, immigrant. How do you see the community work together? Tell us how you see the joy to bring this community together.
Well, when I was there, the church was allowing you and Grace Tabernacle to meet and use their facility, but there wasn't a lot of interaction between the two congregations, and that's why I invited you to come to my office. We sit down, and after I met with you and then started participating in the worship activities that Grace Tabernacle had there at the church, it was just an amazing experience, and I realized that we needed to foster as much connection between the two communities as we could. We had a cookout together, we had some worship services together, and that's how we began to enjoy and understand the differences and the similarities between our worship and our trust and love for God.
Yeah, another question is, when we just land here, we have a different culture. How do you tell the people who are following us, we have a different people who are born in America, who have never been in Africa, we have people who are just learning here. How do you see the challenges between the communities?
The challenge is that people coming from the African communities enter into a culture that they could never have even imagined before they left Africa. They get here as immigrants. The language is a challenge. If they can speak any of it at all, the language is a challenge. But the culture and the expectations of American culture are so different. And people don't understand that we need to be open and teaching to the refugee and immigrant community to let them know, okay, here is kind of how things are done. Can you explain to me how you do that same sort of thing from your culture? There needs to be a lot of discussion, a lot of meeting, a lot of leeway back and forth, just like being on time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's differences in the culture.
Yes.
And different values.
Yes.
And there's somebody, how long have you been in the ministry as a pastor? How many?
50 years.
50 years as a pastor.
Yeah.
And you're pastoring in different churches, different communities, different race, different tribe, or different culture. How do you advise and give some tips in American way that they say to any church or somebody who born in America who have a passion to work with the African community or in any other culture?
If you feel a passion, if you're open to a passion for working with an immigrant community, an African community, there are all kinds of opportunities. You just need to begin to look around, and when you see them, get to know them, become friends with them, and ask them if you can join in their community so they can teach you and you can teach them.
Yeah, that's a really good tips and good ideas to join and to ask friendship. There's something we are missing here when we just come here in America is friendship. The culture is a big barriers. Like in Africa, when you see somebody gonna hug, shake their hands, in America it's just hi.
Yeah.
Hi. We don't understand that. That's a big challenge. There's something I can give advice to anyone who has a passion to serve immigrant community. Just what they need is the friendship.
Exactly.
And share the information.
Yes.
Like a big challenge in America, we don't know anything. We don't have enough information. We don't know what we need. If we say credit, we don't know what the credit is.
Yes.
If you say difference between the debit card and the credit card, is totally something make us confused. That's what we need is the information from you and the friendship. The other things, what the joy you see between these different communities come together, different races come together. Can you tell us a little bit about the joy you have been seeing and experienced to work with different ethnics and the different races?
Well, when you are willing to become interested and then begin to develop a friendship with an immigrant or someone from the African community, it is joyful to help them. It is also joyful to have them teach you more about their particular community and their way of doing things, and it's that becomes helpful then to explain to them how things operate in the United States. If they begin to tell you, well, in our culture, in our homeland, we do this and we do this and we do this, that gives me insight into how to further educate you about how to deal with things in America. And that is a joyful situation. And it has been my experience, people from Africa are just joyful people. They are amazing people. I love them. They are unlike most Americans. They're not cynical. They are genuine.
Yeah, that's good to hear that, and I take that. And now you are a retired pastor now.
Yes.
And I have experience to work with you a couple years. We traveled together in Kenya. You told me you have a ministry called the Sheepdog.
Yes.
Where these names come from?
Okay, Sheepdog Ministry is a not-for-profit that I began right before I retired as a senior pastor. You never really retire as a pastor, you just kind of mostly retired. But Sheepdog Ministry, I began to assist churches and to assist the African Congolese refugee community here in Indiana, in the United States. The name Sheepdog comes from an ordination examination from when I was very young. Right before I was ordained, I was in this meeting with lots of senior pastors, and it's a pretty terrifying experience. And they asked me what my philosophy of ministry was. And I have no idea what I told them. I'm sure I blew some kind of smoke and said some things, but I have no idea what I said. But the question never left me. The question stayed with me. What is my philosophy of ministry? And after about 3 or 4 years and gaining more experience in ministry, I realized that my job was to be as obedient as possible to the leading of Jesus. Jesus is the good shepherd. And if he is the good shepherd, then I am one of his sheepdogs. It's my job to be obedient to the master, to help the flock, to help the congregation, to help the sheep find nourishment, green pastures, and rest. So that's how the name for Sheepdog Ministries came about.
Yeah, in America, I see they have a dog in the house.
Yes.
In Africa, we don't put dog in the house.
No.
We don't put dog in the house. If they say in American, they call it, I think, cowboy or whatever. If they say sheepdog, what does it mean?
Well, there are working sheepdogs, and they work with sheep farmers, and their job is to protect the sheep, to herd the sheep from one pasture to another, to be obedient to whoever the cowboy master is over the sheep. That's the American kind of working sheepdog. There are sheepdogs that are just pets. But that's the context for the working sheepdog.
Yeah, when we were together in Africa, and I said the name of your ministry, everybody was laughing.
Oh yeah, dogs in Africa are not something to be loved or enjoyed or made pets of. So it was a shock to them to hear me call myself the sheepdog, because that's what my congregations have called me for years, is the sheepdog.
They call you sheepdog?
Yeah, they call me sheepdog.
Are you happy for that?
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's good.
But see, in America, that's a more endearing term.
Oh.
In Africa, it is not an endearing term.
That's culture. That's different. That's differences for the culture.
Yes, yes.
They didn't understand how you can call yourself a sheepdog.
But now, now the African community, the refugee community in Kenya, the Congolese refugee community, they love the sheepdog.
They love it because you work with them. And when we come back after the break, you're going to tell us how you work with the Grace Tabernacle in Kenya to help refugees, widows, and the students there, younger kids. You're going to tell us how you work with them.
Yes, I will.
It's happy to be with you, everyone who is following us. Now, we encourage you to follow us at the Journey Show. We will keep coming every Wednesday, 11:30 to 12. And we are here to encourage one another. It's possible everyone can thrive. You can change your life. As I change mine, you can change yourself too. I moved in America with nothing. Nothing. I didn't have anything in my pocket. Just my socks, my shoes, my shirt. That's it. Now, I live in my house. I'm working hard to help other community. I'm here to encourage you. Life is possible. You can thrive, especially anyone who lives in America. You can work one job, two jobs. I went in Europe, many countries, you cannot work more than 35 hours. But in America, you can work many jobs you want. It doesn't matter you're black or white, you're a migrant or refugee, whatever. As long as you're in America, you are in the land of opportunity. You can change your life. Don't give up. Keep trying. Keep hustle. Keep thinking and be nice. Always obey the law. Always work hard. Always think twice before you do anything. I love you. Keep following us. We're here together. Thank you. Now you're here as a Congolese community. We live in Indianapolis. We will just keep working hard together with the other Indianapolis community and make a difference. Thank you so much. Keep in touch.
Sarah, you've got this, okay?
You can be amazing, you can turn a phrase into a weapon wardrobe. You can be the outcast, to be the backlash of somebody's lack of love. But I wonder what would happen if you say what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to see you be brave. What you want to say.
But they lost.
Not really. Not where it counts.
Welcome back again to the Journey Show with Pastor Emmanuel MUSINGA, Pande from here in Indianapolis. We are here with my brother Bob Yant. We work together in a Creek to Creek church. We travel together in Kenya to serve the Congolese community. Now he's one of my best pastor here in Indiana. I call him Papa, and he's a little best friend to me. Now he work close to me in Congolese community, and he work with the African pastors in Kenya, the refugees. Bob, tell us what you do in Kenya.
When we were in Kenya, when we were in Kenya, we worked with the pastors there, giving them some teaching, giving them some encouragement. We tried to encourage them financially while we were there. Also, when we were in Kenya, we worked with many widows and women working on some conversational English because their Congolese children were going to Kenyan school where they learn English, but most of their parents learn no Swahili and French, but weren't fluent in English, so we were giving them some conversational lessons in that. And we met with several widows and many, many, many children. And coming away from that, Sheepdog Ministries decided to partner with the Congolese refugee community in Kenya. And in doing so, we work to help widows with financial assistance, with starting their own businesses if we can. And we work with the children to be sure that they have food, they have clothing, and they have school fees paid, because education is the best way for them to be able to move through the community, for them to survive even. So that's where the fundamental purpose of our work with the refugees in Kenya is focused.
Yeah, now you've been there in Kenya with the refugees, you see their life. Can you tell some American people who have never been in slum, who have never been like in a village somewhere?
Yes.
And can you tell them the life you saw there in the slum and in the camp of refugees?
In the slum communities, and before we went to Kenya, I had all kinds of people telling me, oh, they have great wildlife parks, and you'll see such beautiful things. We spent all our time with the refugee people in Nairobi, Kenya, in slums. Slums where the infrastructure is almost non-existent. You can see some of the sewage coming up through the dirt roads and dirt streets. You can see that the buildings are in terrible shape. The church that the Kaiole community was worshiping in was a pole building, not American-style pole building. I mean timber pole building, that's it, with some plastic and metal sheeting on the outside and plastic and metal sheeting on the roof and a dirt floor, and that's all they had. In their homes, they have to pay rent, which is far more than it should be. Small apartment with a couple of rooms, a single light bulb, electricity sometimes during the week and sometimes not, running water sometimes during the week and sometimes not, and even some of that water is not potable. The conditions there are poorer than most of the places I've seen in America, and I have been in some very poor neighborhoods and worked in some very poor neighborhoods in America. But none of those conditions are as desperate as the refugees are dealing with in Nairobi. And it's not a fault of the government of Nairobi, it's not a fault of anyone, it is the condition that exists. These are people who have had to flee their homeland. They've had to leave their countries. They have watched their villages burned by one group or another because of the warfare, not because of anything they have done. And their only option is to leave if they wish to survive. And they end up in these communities in Kenya, and Kenya is kind enough to allow them in, but the places they have to live are very poor and very disturbing. That was one of the main reasons when we got back to the United States. We wanted to do everything we could to try and support as many people as possible.
Yeah, first of all, before we go there, how you support them, I have these two questions. How, according to your age, according your health, but you still say, I'm going here to help the refugee in asylum. How does passion do you have? How does passion come?
The passion came just by meeting the people, seeing the circumstances, being friends with them. That was an amazing experience for me. I'd been a pastor for years and years. God didn't call me to Africa until I was 70 years old, and after I'd had cancer twice.
Wow.
But he still called me to Africa. And for some reason I went.
Yeah.
And while I was there, this great passion came to do everything I could even though it was small, to do everything I could to assist especially the widows and the children. Widows in this refugee community do not feel that, for whatever reason, that they have the opportunity to remarry, so they are living on their own, supporting their children. And these widows and orphans, how they manage is amazing. And they are the ones that Sheepdog Ministries tries to send funds to assist in any way we can.
Then my second question is, you went there, you were almost over 70 years old, you are helping these refugees. How do you can encourage someone who live in America, who have never been in asylum, who have never been in a poor area like what you see there, or how you can encourage young one who born in America, who enjoy life, go to school with the bus, eat breakfast, lunch at school. How do you can encourage and inspire him to go do something in community like that?
Well, you don't have to go to Africa. And you don't have to go to the refugee community, although I recommend you search for them because they're out there. You just have to look for them. But you can go to any community. There are neighborhoods in Indianapolis, all over Indianapolis, that need someone to come in and care about them, to help support them, to encourage them, to go in and work beside them. You can do those things. If you want to encourage a refugee community in Africa, then you can contact us at Sheepdog Ministries, and we will give you the option and opportunity to support them. We are a 501c3, which is a tax deductible. You can send contributions to Sheepdog Ministry, and we send then funds to assist when the needs arrive in Africa. That assistance comes in the forms of helping widows start their own businesses, buying them sewing machines, or providing other resources so that they can start a small shop in a market, in a street market. We provide funding for children to go to school. This past year, we have funded 10 children for their school terms, and that's $1,000 for 10 children, $100 a child for a full school term to take care of their school fees and food and supplies. You can't send a child to school for a week in America for $100, just about, but we can send them for an entire term. And this year we have done that for 10 children, 10 orphans exclusively. Last year we provided funding for almost 20 children, I think it was, for their school terms. We also, during the pandemic, provided food and food supplies. We send the money to my contact in Kenya. I have a contact in Kenya. We send money through the African banking system called M-Pesa, and there's no money transfer, there's no exchange rate. The money transfer fee is extremely small. My contact in Kenya, Pastor Joseph, lets me know what the needs are. I send the funds through and pass it to him. He distributes those funds, and then he sends us photographs of all the people that we have assisted or the things that we have purchased as we assist them. It is an amazing way to support people that you never see, that you'll never meet, but who can feel the love and concern that God has for them by the willingness of people halfway around the world to help support them and encourage them and give them the things that they need to continue to survive in their life.
Yeah, where you look, Sheepdog Ministry located now here in Indiana?
Okay, Sheepdog Ministry is located in my home, basically. We have 2 volunteers. One volunteer here in America, that's me, and one volunteer in Africa, who is Joseph. That is Emmanuel's brother, actually, Pastor Joseph. We are at 4845 Turkey Track Road in Martinsville, Indiana, 46151. You can send donations there by check, or you can go to Sheepdog Ministries, Sheepdog Ministries, at AT&T.net, and you can contribute through PayPal. Those are the two ways you can contribute. We take those funds. There's no funds used for administrative fees. There's no funds used for anything except to send to the needs of the refugees in Nairobi, Kenya, those Congolese refugees who've had to flee their homes and have very little other support.
Thank you so much, my brother Bob. You've been a huge, great blessing to the Congolese community. This was a blessing to have you and in Kenya, and we've been there. I hope maybe if God bless, sometime you can step there, look what you are doing there.
If God had called me to Africa 10 years sooner, I would have probably gone back and stayed for 3 or 4 years at least.
You can
I loved working with the people. You can make such a difference with what seems like so little here in America. Can make a huge difference there. Each year at Christmas time, we provide a Christmas festival, I guess, for about 200 orphan children. It allows them to go to a festival, and it's an experience they couldn't have if we didn't provide that for them.
Thank you so much, Brother Bob. We are so happy to have you here in our studio at the community here in Indiana. You support us here, even back home. Now we encourage everyone to work with the Bob to support Sheepdog Ministry. Now we can be able to impact and empower more immigrant refugees back in Kenya, even here in Indiana. Bob has been a great blessing to me. He teach me how to pastor in a church in America. He teach me how to do mission, how to impact the Congolese community, even in American community side. Because to lead a church in America is totally different to lead a church in Africa. Now, we have differences how we lead the community, even how we manage everything there is totally different. Bob has been one of my best friends to encourage me, to teach me, to be able to thrive as my family and even in the community. I remember something he told me, you need a vacation, you need to have a time of the family. That's why we didn't understand that in the other culture. Thank you so much for having us. Welcome, we'll see you next time.